Well, my favorite psalm is Psalm 137, and it's actually a psalm of lament, a poem of lament and crying out to God, acknowledging this difficult situation that the people of God find themselves in. And the situation that they find themselves in is that they have been exiled from Jerusalem, from their home, their place of worship, and into Babylon. And during that time, God feels far away and they feel lost and they feel with a sense of hopelessness. And so they cry out to God and they kind of just simply acknowledge, here's our pain, here's our grief, here's our sorrow. And so they write it this way: by the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept when we thought of Zion, our home, so far away. On the branches of the willow trees, we hung our harps and hid our hearts. And the men that surrounded us made demands that we clap our hands and sing songs of joy, sing songs from Zion. Such cruel men taunted us. How could we sing a song about the Lord in a land so foreign, while we were still tormented and broken-hearted and homesick? O Jerusalem, even still, don't escape my memory. I treasure you and your songs, even as I hide my harp from the enemy. And if I cannot remember, may I never sing a song again. May my hands never play well again. For what use would it be if I don't remember Jerusalem, my source of joy? And so what they're writing here, what they're saying here is this image of a harp being their joy. An instrument for singing songs of praise and rejoicing at how good God is and how he has blessed his people. And then they say this image of, but when we got to this point, when we got to Babylon, when we got to that point of our hearts being broken and this terrible feeling of being exiled and the things in life not being the way they should be, we hung up our harps. It's this image of we lost our joy. We lost our reason for singing and celebrating because life isn't good right now. Life is not the way we want it to be and what we hope it to be. Our hearts are broken. We're filled with sorrow and grief at all the things going on in the world. And the reason I love this hymn, this psalm, is because it fits all of our lives. There are all moments in our lives and in our country and in our world where we are filled with such sorrow and grief that we feel like just hanging up our harps on the trees and saying, yeah, I'm never going to play that again. What's the point? I don't have joy anymore. There's nothing to sing about and celebrate anymore because all I can feel is this weight of grief and sorrow. But the good news for the people of God, even as they wrote Psalm 137, is that God was still working in their lives, working to redeem them and bring them home. And in fact, a huge section of the Old Testament is dedicated to God bringing his people back to Jerusalem and restoring the relationship with them so that they could worship him again, so they could bring down their harps off the trees and celebrate and rejoice because God has given them salvation. And the Bible ends in Revelation with picture after picture after picture of the people of God redeemed by Jesus surrounding the throne of God, and they're singing. And the Bible tells us that they're singing new songs because there's so much joy now, there's so much life and so much to celebrate now that we are in the presence of God. We have to sing and we have to write some new songs to praise him, to celebrate this great joy we have now. You know, the reality of life is that there's going to be moments in our lives. There's going to be times in our lives and in the world, in our country, in our cities, everything going on around us, that our hearts are simply broken. And we get to the point where we have to put our harps away. We have to hang them up on the willow trees for a little while because there's too much grief and sorrow, and it's not a time for singing and celebrating. But the hope that we have in Jesus is that God is still at work and that he is going to restore all things that are broken, everything that is causing us grief and sorrow, everything that is making us cry out to him. He is going to heal and fix, and he's doing the work through Jesus to bring us back home to him. And there's going to be a day where we get our harps down off the trees And we sing beautiful new songs praising our God who has saved us and redeemed us, and he has healed all things. So my hope and prayer for you is that if you find yourself in a season of life where you are putting your harp away, where you're finding it difficult to find joy and a time to celebrate and rejoice, that you would put your hope in the work that God is still doing through Jesus. And that you would put your hope, and that you would trust in the fact that he is going to restore all things. He's going to bring you home to him. And when he does, there's going to be infinite joy, eternal celebrating about how great and wonderful our God is. God's peace to you.